Welcome to the third of my Rugby World Cup breakdowns, and in this week we will particularly look at England versus Scotland, as I, along with the rest of the world, are particularly going to be looking at that match.
Richard, last time we spoke we were previewing the game against Romania. What did you make of England's performance? The best of the competition so far?
Certainly the best of England's. They managed to get some good tries in. Good in terms of the wingers, the confidence. Outside backs getting tries is always a good way to look at life. But more importantly, there was progression in terms of how England played, some of the direct play, certainly some better discipline. So they are all important, but it does make for quite a nervous weekend, but hopefully there'll be a more direct approach, and we'll have nothing to be looking back on and regret.
So considering England's performance against Romania, are you surprised to see 3 team changes for the game against Scotland?
Not at all. I believe that those players that weren't available, there were 2 of them weren't available. And the third, Armitage has had a good summer, and more importantly had 2 good performances. And whereas Kuwaito unfortunately missed out through injury, and has let Armitage get that sniff and that opportunity, Armitage will look back to Ben Foden a year or so ago and how he took his opportunity. So it is very much about when your chance comes. Same with Matt Stevens taking it. Courtney Lawes is certainly a physical character, puts himself around, and someone England need. They need to sort of disrupt Scotland at any opportunity they can. I mean, Scotland in their last match, they lost to Argentina. I'm hugely disappointed, not only to lose the match, but to be in what seemed like so much control. After 70 minutes, I remember sitting there thinking, this is Scotland's victory. You knew it was within 7 points. You knew that scoreline could change around, but it just didn't seem likely to happen. And then, you get a lapse in concentration after Scotland score the drop goal. They miss the kick-off that goes straight into the Argentinian hands. They recycle the ball on a couple of occasions and go down the right-hand touchline and steps in far too easy. And that's probably having gone through all that game, and just to let a try in like that would have been disappointing. But it's Scotland, and we all know that they love to play against England. They certainly bring out some cracking performances when you least expect it, and certainly experience of playing them in potentially what could have been a Grand Slam match for ourselves in 2000. Having had Scotland lose every single game in the Championship, got turned around completely. They played the conditions beautifully up in Murrayfield, and I'm sure the conditions in New Zealand are more likely to be that day than a glorious sunny day. So England have got to put in a very good performance. They've got to be very organised up front and make sure not only they control the ball themselves, make sure they keep that scoreboard ticking over, because that's going to be an important factor with not only trying to get the win, but at worst making sure that there's no threat in terms of points differential. Matt, by his own admission, will clearly state that he got himself into a predicament he didn't want to, would never want to get into, and he would certainly not want another player to have to go through. And he's fought back exceptionally well, looked after himself during that 2-year period, has come back in with a phenomenal attitude at Saracens, certainly been a key influence in Saracens winning the Aviva Premiership, and it's just the way he conducts himself. On a pitch, all that time out, yet he comes back. He's still like a prime example of how to do quality lifting. Certainly loves to have the ball in hand. And I thought when he had his opportunity in the opening game, he would have been one of the key reasons that England were able to up the tempo towards the end against Argentina. Getting involved with Manu Tuilagi, going in nice and low and quick, recycle ball, which ultimately led to the important score for Ben Youngs. Well, we're seeing some big developments within the rugby. Certainly, if you look at the tournament as a whole, it is an opportunity to generate money for the Tier 2 countries, and it's a sad situation sometimes when the likes of Samoa has been quite well documented, don't get the same rest time as others. But on the flip side, that the success of the World Cup has allowed for them to have a multi-million-pound facility built in order to develop their own players, and just as importantly, try and keep them on their own shores, so that they can boost the general playing standard on the islands, and have a better showing at World Cups. It goes without saying, it's not over for them yet, though. Certainly a big performance against, was it South Africa this weekend, and we could be talking quite differently next week. But there are definitely matches outside the World Cup. I certainly look at the two matches we played in New Zealand and Australia before the World Cup in June. They both stand out for completely different reasons. One being the New Zealand match, played in atrocious conditions, played against New Zealand, who were playing exceptionally well. They had a good day, but unfortunately, just when it mattered near our goal line, we defended pretty ferociously, and were able to survive with 13 players on the pitch against 15 and go up to the other end. And Johnny managed to get 3 points against the run of play, and that was a big statement. It was only the second time that England had won in New Zealand, but then the week after we had to back it up and go to Australia. And of course, you enter Australia, you have the media hype around England, dull, boring rugby team. So to be 3 tries to the good in the first half pretty much showed how we were capable of switching between maybe a forward, up front dominated game, or even with the backs we had physical power plays, but also we were able to just use the skills of our backs in terms of just picking defenders off, just literally catch and draw and give, and great day really in terms of setting out intent. And to be honest, it probably helped us win that World Cup, because at times I think that ability to have won those 2 games made teams think that we were better possibly than we were.